And we are live now, everybody. We have one joiner with us, Lori from Pittsburgh. We have a live interview today, which is a special edition with former NFL player Jeff Reed, right?
That's right.
Yep, and Jeff has agreed to join us for what is the special edition. The reason this is special, I should first let everybody know this is for No Kid Hungry. So this is the Entertainment Industry End Hunger Challenge. Every interview that I do raises $100, which is the equivalent of 1,000 meals for hungry kids. Jeff doing this interview today is now the 10th interview, which is $1,000 raised, 10,000 meals for hungry kids. So this is a huge deal. So thank you, Jeff.
That's pretty cool. Yeah, anytime. It's easy for me. I love all this stuff.
So thank you for agreeing to join us. We have a little bit of a technical issue we're working with. Everybody can see Jeff, but I'm going to be recording the sound from my phone so everybody can hear. So yes, it is a very big deal. Jeff, for those who don't know who you are, maybe don't watch football, why don't you fill them in on who you played for and what you do?
I'm a complete kicker, which means field goals and kickoffs from 2002 to 2010 in the NFL. 8.5 of those years were with Pittsburgh Steelers. Half of the season was with the San Francisco 49ers. And in 2011, after the lockout, I was part of the Seattle Seahawks. And I haven't played since. Basically, obviously, with Pittsburgh, I have 2 Super Bowl rings. I was the captain of the team twice out of my 8.5 years. And that's my football career. I'm also doing radio, my own podcast, which is, I have breaking news kind of stuff on that. Since everybody can see me, they can believe it's actually me and the news is real. I'm getting into coaching. I do some private lessons with kickers, punters, in the Charlotte, North Carolina area. Some guys travel from South Carolina and Florida to work with me. But I'm doing a little bit of everything right now. I'm looking for some consistency in my life, basically.
So any other projects besides your podcast that you're working on?
What's that?
Are there any other projects besides your podcast that you're working on right now, since you do a little bit of everything?
No, I do local sports talk radio, which the most out there, if you don't like sports, don't listen because it'll be boring. I bring the wittiness to the show, but I'm not except for the in the locker room kind of material, I'm not the brains of the show. The guys are full of stats. They memorize way too much of stuff that doesn't matter, in my opinion. But that's part-time. Like I said, working with kickers, coaching kickers is part-time. Motivational speaking is, probably at least once a month. And I just got done with one actually 3 nights ago in Gastonia, North Carolina, with the Sportsman Club of Gastonia at Gaston Country Club. That was pretty cool because a lot of huge names were there, and I was the one speaking to them. And a few previous guys that were on that stage that I shared, I didn't share the stage with, but I succeeded them was like people like Dean Smith and Tommy John and huge names. And I just feel blessed to be a part of that because the Pittsburghers are a huge name, but to me, I'm just a normal guy.
So what are some of the subjects of your motivational speaking? Is there anything in particular that you focus on, or is it just kind of anything?
Well, this particular one, they wanted me to tell my story, and, you can't just say, yeah, I won 2 Super Bowls. Of course, I had the rings on, and everybody was in awe. I wanted pictures with them. All that stuff's cool. I've earned everything I got to this day. I've made mistakes along the way. I realize I am human, and I am judged by making a couple mistakes instead of the person I am by many, which is okay because people that know me for me, and not a football player. They know me for Jeff Reed, and there's only one. Even though there's a lot of Jeff Reeds, as you knew, looking up my little account on this thing, there's only one Jeff Reed in my eyes, and that's me. So, and everyone's different. So, I did a motivational speech on teamwork, leadership. Motivational speech on teamwork, leadership, my story, camaraderie. Basically what it takes to be a leader and to be a team player, and why teams win in professional sports. And it's not just because they're the best players; it's because they have the best camaraderie. Stuff like that. And I relate it to life because most importantly, the sports, and that's pretty sad with youth today because there's so many kids. Their parents make them play something because they're trying to be famous off their kids. It should be a fun thing for kids where they can learn life experiences, through their sport or whatever they're involved in. And I think that a lot of talented kids in today's world get taken advantage of because of their parents. And I don't think I think the reason you play sports is, yeah, it's competitive. You can win some huge awards. You can make some money. But in the end, you learn from it. And you make mistakes. You have great accomplishments. And that's what I speak on. It's not about two pieces of jewelry I own, even though that's the highest level of football you can play in the world. But it's about what I've learned from it.
That's good, and I like the fact that you say, it's you, Jeff Reed, as not the football player, but as the person, because when I do these interviews, to be honest, a lot of the people I've interviewed with, I have no idea who they are before I do the interview. I mean, it's nice that you won 2 Super Bowls, but not being a big football fan, I wasn't really familiar with what teams you played on. I like to know the people for who you are, not for what you do, whether it's, because they're a famous singer or, won a Super Bowl. I want to know you for you, not for the games that you played or what you won.
Yeah, and I think that a lot gets lost with the athletes themselves. I know a ton of people that know me. They didn't know me before I got to the NFL. But most of my friends are actually in the Pittsburgh area because I was there for a third of my life. And not only was I there, but I was in the community a lot. All the stuff that I did behind the scenes and charity events, besides a few commercials I did, and one fundraiser I did on my own, I didn't get credit for because I don't think it's necessary for me to announce it to the world that I'm at a charity event because I know what I'm doing and what I'm doing is right. But a lot of people, I did make the national news for hitting a paper towel dispenser, and seems ignorant, but it was national news because I was a Pittsburgh Steeler. I made the national news for what they called fighting a police officer, and all I was doing was basically face down, getting punched by them. But, I laugh about it now, but when I look back, I'm still judged on that by a lot of people. And that's why I do a podcast. That's why I do coaching. That's why I do what I do, because I want people to know what I am, and that no matter how much money I made or lost or still have or any of that, I'm a valuable human being because and things like this, the reason I'm on this line with you is what makes me a different person than most. Because most people, and I'm not tooting my own horn, but most people aren't going to take 30, 40 minutes out of their day when they're busy to talk about kids and hunger and homelessness and all this stuff because they're going to be like, well, I have to do this and this. Well, I have to do stuff today too. But if I can't give you 20 minutes of my day, I think that's a little ridiculous.
And I definitely appreciate you giving 20 minutes of your time, and I can't agree with you more. Same with the people that are, it's not my problem. Well, I didn't do it, so I'm not going to be one to make a difference. Well, if we all sit back and complain and not give a few minutes of our time, we're never going to get anywhere.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it's easy. I haven't. Well, I was blessed growing up. My parents didn't have hardly anything, but what they had, my sister and I got. All the way up until I got to my junior year in college. I didn't work, of course, but my work was just enough so I can buy a video game or, go to McDonald's. We can get on the $1 menu. And that's disgusting to think about now to eat all that stuff, but especially when you're dating a health coach and a nutritionist. But that's what when I made money, that's what I did with it. I didn't think about paying the bill. I didn't think about, let me get a bank account and throw some money in there. My parents worked their tails off to raise my sister and I right and provide us with, every once in a while, some really cool stuff. Most importantly, we got to eat. And we had a roof on our heads, over our heads. So, if you don't have that, then who cares if you have a nice purse or nice shoes or any of those things, because those things aren't going to protect you and they aren't going to help you grow as a person.
No, and I couldn't agree more. So one of the questions that I ask people, and we've kind of maybe already touched on it, is why did you agree to help us? I mean, like you said, you're very busy. 20 minutes out of your time, is a huge deal, which I appreciate. but you could have joined, anybody in a cause. Why, choose to help me with the End Hunger Project? Was there a certain reason that you said, I have to do this?
Well, there's two things. One is, unless I absolutely can't, and someone says this time and this time only, and I can't do it because I'm at work or I absolutely can't do it, then that's one thing. The only reason I'd say no. And the other one is, it's about kids. This is basically a fundraiser / charity thing. When I was in Pittsburgh, I was at 3 charity events a week, and I was the lead act of Mr. Rudy's wife's fashion show, and it was probably because I got the crowd into it because I looked like a fool and danced and this and that. But I was the lead act every year, and I'm the place kicker. So I'm not Big Ben. I'm not all these huge names, Palomalu, and they were all in it. But I was the lead act because I brought energy to the stage, and it wasn't about me. And it's cool that people like me better because of that. But it was about the cause, and this cause is important. And we take for granted as individuals, whether I'm in my mid-30s or I'm 13. My girlfriend has kids, so I'm with them a lot of time. And they not only have food, but they have a chef preparing 6 nights a week. So they have no idea how good they really have it, because my parents, when we struggled, they may cook some, but it's not going to be a whole lot. And they try to make sure we get our vegetables and fruits and this and that. And of course, we wanted all the crap that was bad for us. But with her kids, they eat their greens, they eat their main dish. They have no hormones in the food. They have no antibiotics. They have no MSG. I mean, they have no any of this. They know about it because of the mother, but they have no idea how good they're eating at 6 and 8 years old. And so that's why this issue is important for people that do it. I mean, that even have a little bit of money, or their kids get to eat. It's not only do they need to eat, they need to eat the right way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's another side part of the hunger issue too. It isn't just the fact of trying to survive to be able to eat in general. It's eating the right way. And I think education is one thing that we're really lacking on with that. I don't know if the viewers agree, but I see it a lot where we give out food at a food shelf to help people get by, but we're not teaching them how to use what they're given. So ultimately that is wasted as well.
Yeah, I mean, I've given them tons of canned food drives, and I don't sit there and go through the nutritional facts of all of them, because that takes too long, and the point of it is trying to help somebody eat. But, if those kids or families get a choice of food, they're all going to grab the mac and cheese. I mean, who's going to grab a bunch of green beans? I wouldn't have.
No.
But, what really matters is, if you grab a balance of that stuff, if you really get the option, that's important.
I agree. So one of the other questions that I usually ask everybody when we do this interview is, and you might disagree, I'm glad that you're quite outspoken like I am, is I think that in the recent, decades or so, we've had what I call a Band-Aid fix, which is kind of a temporary solution to, a lifelong problem. We're just doing enough to just get by without figuring out how we can end hunger. And that's really what I'm trying to do. It's nice that I'm raising money, but my goal is to kick hunger out the door in 2015. Pardon my language, but come hell or high water, one way or another, I want to make sure that this is nothing we have to worry about anymore. And I think we need to figure out that long-term solution. What do you think about that?
Well, your idea is great, but you have to have thousands of people, hundreds of thousands of people believe in you and believe what you think, and then they believe in themselves, and they believe in that too. That's like, and this is getting a little bit off track, but like my girlfriend told me, I don't know what I ate one time, and she said, "Why would you eat that? You're contributing to them still serving, us that bad food." And I said, "Well, it tasted good," and because that's a typical comment that I would make. But I wasn't thinking, God, if I get this nasty hamburger that tastes good, then I'm just basically contributing to, giving them money to keep making them. And you basically have to buy into something and support it 100% and never get off track. Now, it's easier said than done, but with this whole hunger thing, if somebody gives $100 and they think their job's done, but then they go ahead and, they leave, they live every day like it's only their life and only their world, then, you're not going to solve any problems. So you have to buy into the idea and, pan it out. And you have to come out of the weeds with it, and you have to roll with it.
So how do you think we can get more people to join on board? I completely agree. There's no way I can do it myself. I understand that. But one way or another, I'm trying to convince as many people as I can to stop sitting back and just saying, it's not my problem. I didn't do it. I'm not going to be part of the solution because it doesn't affect me directly. How do we get past that attitude of, I don't have to help?
Well, it's tough because everybody is like me. Everyone's stuck in their own ways. And if you haven't been in a position of, I guess, celebrity kind of status like myself, and been presented all these different events to go to and see, like, actual kids that have cystic fibrosis or brain tumor or homeless or families that are homeless or kids that don't have jackets up in Pittsburgh, PA when it's negative 30 degrees. I mean, if you don't get an opportunity to see this, people don't care what words mean. As I've said numerous times, if I tell somebody I love them, whether it's my significant other or my mother or my father or sister, whoever it may be, then I have to show that, because it's good to say I love you, because that's like, oh, he loves me, that's nice. But if I'm a complete butthole to everybody else and them, then do I really love them, or am I just saying that to ease and smooth over the conversation? So in this situation, we can talk about this all day, but if there's, basically you just have to have events. This is good. People see me talking about it, but this is good plug for me. This is good plug for what you're doing. But on the flip side of that, you have to have events, and it doesn't have to cost $5 million to get in the door. You have to have events to see where, these 10 young kids, they're barely making it, and they may not look sick because they're kids, and they can probably, look a little better than an adult that doesn't eat. But if you have events like that, that's when you realize that, okay, this is real. Because the very first charity event I did was a little 4-year-old that had a brain tumor, a girl, and I knew that going in, and I kind of was like, it's my first ever charity event, so I didn't really know what I was getting into, and it was just a friend that asked me to be there. I was a rookie, so I wasn't used to this, and I went in there, and the girl asked if I'd hold her, and I did. She couldn't hold her head up, and immediately I was like, man, here I am, just got my first paycheck in the NFL, and here's this 4-year-old that has no idea that she lived till she was 5, and she wasn't supposed to make it past 3, but she died at 5 years old. And, you look at a situation like that, and that girl was in my arms. I still talk to her mother. When I played my playing career, her little obituary was in my locker. And, and I still have it. It has dust on it. It's kind of, faded here and there. But, that was my first ever awakening to, okay, I need to stop taking everything for granted, besides the fact that I'm walking and kicking a football for money. And I can hear and see, and all my senses work. And I've had some injuries, but I overcame. I've had some surgeries, but I overcame them. Then that makes you realize, like, the little bitty things that matter that you take for granted, you have to be grateful for. And eating and having a house, or at least somewhere that you're not freezing your butt off or sweating like crazy when it's hot where you live, is very important. And, just having a shower makes you feel like a whole new person. And, I think that a lot of people take it for granted. That's why you see so many people with multi-millionaires that are extremely unhappy, because they're not grateful. They think because they have money, they can buy anything in the world, which they can't. You can't buy happiness.
Nope, I agree with you 100% on that one. It's amazing. They have all this money and they think that that's going to buy everything, make them happy, but at the end of the day, they are completely miserable. But, I've seen so many times where we give a homeless person just a sandwich, a few dollars, and they are the most grateful, happiest person ever for just receiving $2 or a sandwich, and that makes their entire world that day. So it's really interesting, the different perspectives.
Well, yeah, and the big thing that a lot of people, excuse my mind too, when you're talking about homeless adults, I do feel for them, but I also know of, and I don't know them personally, but I can describe exactly what they look like in Chapel Hill when I was in college. They were people that acted homeless, came out dirty, had holes in their jeans, sat there, made a lot of money from the students as you were drinking and leaving the club, and they lived in mansions because one of my friends actually found that out through following home and followed this guy all night to write a story on him, and I didn't believe him, and it wasn't a mansion like on MTV Cribs or something, but it was nice. He's not homeless, and so those people ruin it for these kind of conversations because we're talking about kids. So and now parents do take advantage and exploit their kids, but we're talking about kids, so it's a lot different than what I'm talking about. But those are the people that skew minds because they're living a lie just to have more money.
Yep, and those situations, and I know what you're talking about, make it extremely difficult for organizations like No Kid Hungry and Feeding Peace and all of those to get the proper help because people look at those kind of like they focus on a few of your situations with the officers or the paper towel dispenser, and that's all they're going to hold on to is you doing that.
Yep.
Same thing with this, and they're not going to focus on us helping the kids who really have no choice in the matter. Children should not have to decide how they're going to get their food or when, and the fact that somebody go hungry, we need to give them a chance.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, a lot of kids, even though kids are extremely smart these days, their intelligence level in school at such a young age is unbelievable, and they catch everything. So if you slip up and you curse, or you slip up and say something funny that's not meant for kids' ears, I mean, they repeat it because they're overly intelligent. But on the flip side of that, I mean, if you leave a kid out, say go eat, what are they going to do? They don't have money to buy it. They don't know what to buy. They just know what the world and society offers. So they'll go to McDonald's because it's supposedly a kid's place. But it's also not free. So it's kids need direction with that, and the ones that are not fortunate enough to have it on a daily basis. It's good for someone like myself or other people to stand up and step up to the plate and say, listen, at least I'll get you a meal for today. Because then they'll start to learn you don't have to feed them gourmet Ruth's Chris steaks, but you got to feed them something that they realize, okay, this is kind of the norm. This is, and I've been eating, I've been chasing bugs just to eat a bug or something. You never know. I mean, in the different countries, it's crazy.
And I do understand when we're talking about this that people are going to say that there's so many other factors involved, and there are. There's homelessness. It kind of goes hand in hand. There's mental health issues. There are a lot of issues that are involved with hunger. I completely understand that, and I'm in full support of doing what I can to, end that as well. But, if kids are so hungry when they go to school in the morning because they've had nothing to eat, they're not going to be able to think about anything else other than when they're going to get food and how they're going to get it. And their education is wasted. Going to school ends up being 8 hours wasted down the drain.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, food is absolute necessity for growing, for thinking, for developing as an individual, no matter what age you are. I've gone a day or two because I can afford to lose weight. I've gone a day or two not eating, thinking that's the solution, and you realize how many ignorant mistakes you make that day. That you just because you don't think and you're not in your right mindset, and I can only imagine for a little bitty kid's body how that affects them, and it's tough enough to get a kid to pay attention anyway. It's like they all have ADD. I mean, I'm right there with them. I have to pay attention. It's tough for me to pay attention sometimes to anyone, but I have to focus on it and say, okay, if this person's talking to me, whether it's worthless or not, I'm going to make them feel important, and I'm going to listen. So, but that goes back to feeding your body the right things, right liquids, right foods, right vegetables, fruits, everything. And I mean, if you're not eating at all, it's tough to focus, and you're definitely not getting anything out of a school education.
So one of the things that's been mentioned in several of the interviews that I've done in regards to, how can we end hunger, what can we do for that end result that I'm talking about, one thing that was mentioned was giving more support to the farmers, that if we gave more support to local farmers, they would better be able to help end the hunger problem by producing so much food that could be distributed. What do you think about that?
Well, I mean, that goes along the same lines as what my 100% what my girlfriend would be saying right now. That instead of supporting these restaurants that feed like that aren't local, that aren't this, that aren't that, and they have a couple good things about them, you support the farmers. And then all of a sudden, I mean, because farmers, I have an old college buddy of mine that was a college teammate, Jason Brown, and he lives in North Carolina, and he retired from football when he was offered another contract just to work, because he had a ton of money. He was a center in the NFL. He got paid one time. He was about to get paid again. And he wanted to save his body. He was probably not even 30 when he retired. And he has a huge farm in North Carolina, and he distributes to people that you're talking about, people that are have hunger issues or don't have money to buy. He doesn't charge them anything, and he literally grows the crops, keeps the land how it's supposed to be. I'm not a farmer by any means, but I know what it can entail, and he does that strictly out of the goodness of his heart, because probably of the charity things that he learned along the way as a Baltimore Raven and a St. Louis Ram. So I think supporting local farmers is huge, because they can produce mass products, and they would be more than willing to give stuff away, because if there's the right cause. Otherwise, they have to make their money too.
I agree, and I helped out at a food shelf one time, and it goes back to healthy eating, like you're saying, because I see a lot of these, the food we're giving people, if it's filled with chemicals, I mean, it's just not good for them to begin with. They're hungry 20 minutes later. It's not really fulfilling. But we had a farmer come in that brought in just pallets of fresh fruit and vegetables, and the people were just devouring it. They were just scrounging for it like it was a Christmas present. It was unreal, how much they appreciated getting fresh fruit and vegetables. And it's actually kind of sad to think that, that's the norm, that they don't get it so often that when they do, it's like Christmas.
It's like a treat.
Yeah.
And those are the little things that are not overly expensive. A lot of people have the mindset that if you go organic, or you shop at a Whole Foods, or you shop at a Fresh Market or a Trader Joe's or a Earth Fare, then all you're doing is wasting money, because they have just as good a food at your local grocery store. Well, taste-wise, yeah, it's just as good, but it's not great for you. And down the road, you're going to be paying more for medicine, so you're going to have to pay more money anyway. And I just learned that philosophy. I mean, I've always tried to eat healthy, but I didn't think I was eating a bad piece of chicken. If it was grilled chicken, I thought it was fine. I didn't think like that. And, so I started realizing that, if you spend an extra $1 or $2 on the right vegetables or organic fruit, I mean, it can make a difference in the world, not overnight, but down the road, years down the road. And those are the little things that people, in their minds, they see a little bit higher price tag, so they'd rather just do the medicine when they're 50 years old and, trying to stay out of a surgery and trying to survive.
I agree very much. Every point you've made has been what we've talked about in the previous interviews. I just think we need to figure out how to get the message out a little bit further, but all those that have joined us maybe can help. It's one step in the right direction towards ending hunger. One of the questions that I ask, is has anybody been an inspiration for you? So you do a lot of public speaking. You do a lot of motivational speaking. Has there been anybody that's been an inspiration in your past to decide that you wanted to do help for charities?
I just realized, I have a lot of inspirations. My parents, my father grew up playing college basketball. He was a coach. He was extremely smart. He was a math professor. Now he's moved on to different things, of course. My mother was a cheerleader, had numerous great things about her as well. She's an only child. She could have been a complete mess, but she turned out great. They raised my sister and I right. She's been above 65, almost, the most 65, and, been married 44 years. So obviously that's an inspiration, because I never even have been engaged. So that's something I'm shooting for. But and my sister, of course, played, all the way, basketball, softball. She did everything, soccer, and she played professional soccer for a year, and it just wasn't for her. She had a lot of injuries. But they're inspirations. But I tell you, recently, the last 14 months of my life, I've been with my girlfriend. I've learned a lot about nutrition and food, and I don't do everything right. And I'm in no shape to tell you I would never eat a burger from a Or you eat a hot dog when they taste so good when you know, if you're at a barbecue or a cookout, you don't realize what you're actually eating. I watched the paint one time, and you know, I'm not saying I'll never eat a hot dog again, but that's a little weird. You know, things like that I have a special respect for, and she's an inspiration to me in that aspect. Besides the fact that, you know, we've lived through a lot, we're still together. You can look through all that stuff, but basically when it comes to speaking in these charity events, my inspiration is the fact that I was getting paid to play a sport which I love to play. Was it very stressful? Yes. Was it very time consuming? Yes, it was. Was it tough on my body? Yes. I've had 3 surgeries. I need 2 more. But I can talk. I chose to sign up for the sport. Nobody made me play. I was fortunate enough to play at the highest level. But you realize if you just play the sport and you have a wife and you have kids and you know, raise your family right, that's great. But if you can't give back, whether it is time or money, then I think you're not really fulfilling the purpose of that game. And that's the biggest thing with me. And I, you know, the first couple times when I asked me to do a charity event, I said yes and didn't go. And I'm like, first of all, I'm not that kind of person, so I shouldn't be saying something and not doing it. Second, I have no idea what they're even asking me to do, so maybe I should try one out. And I went to, in 9 years, I couldn't tell you how many I went to, probably 200 or so, and every single one of them, in one way or another, whether it was more of a laid-back kind of charity event, you know, raising money, or whether it was a kid on his deathbed. You know, it was really, I walked into the cancer clinic one time to see my chiropractor who beat cancer 3 times. He had double cancer, beat all 3 times, he's still alive. And I walked in there to surprise him, and people were jumping off their tables to see me because of the Pittsburgh, and I had that crazy hair, and they kind of knew who I was. And if I can have an impact by walking down the hallway, not even saying anything or doing anything, besides moving on with my normal life, then I think I should apply myself and say that's the reason why I enjoy playing football the most.
And I was talking about that with another person I interviewed who's a supermodel, and she said the same thing. We were trying to figure out how we can get this out further, how we can get people aware of what I'm doing. And she's like, you've got to get the people who are like you, that when you walk in a room, they just jump just from you being in there. Think of how much they watch you just from walking in the room, and think of how much more they'll listen to what you have to say when you start to talk about hunger and ending it. I mean, the impact alone, just because of that stigma of being, you know, a pro football player, is huge.
Yeah, you know, like I said, and I'm not saying, when I say the average person, I'm not saying that I'm better than somebody. Mm-hmm. The average person who has not been in my shoes or the shoes of somebody of so-called celebrity status, like I mentioned earlier, has no idea how much of an impact they can have on the world just by doing little bitty things. You don't have to write a check for thousands of dollars. Mm-hmm. You don't have to do, it's not what you're not asking for tons of money, you're asking for support, and other things will fall into place. On my podcast, I say you are what you think. And my girlfriend gave me a book called The Secret. I don't really read much, but I read that. And the whole thing is, whatever you think, whatever's in your heart, is what you attract. So if you wake up immediately and say, God, it's going to be one of those days, it's got to be one of those days. If you wake up and say, I'm going to make something out of today, even if you know, just accomplish the fact that you didn't get hurt or you didn't get in a wreck, say something today. You can change it by your mindset, because your heart, whatever's in your heart leads to your mind and your facial expressions, that I learned in church. And it seems crazy, but you can't just smile and be fake when your heart's, you know, hurt and you're depressed. And I've been there before. You know, I can be fake for a little bit. People have no idea what kind of personality I have. But then they start realizing that, you know, people that I'm around that know me are like, okay, this isn't Jeff, what's wrong with him? So, you know, the perception people have is you have to give a ton of money to help people. And if money helps, unfortunately, the world revolves around money. But if you give time and effort and try to make a change, that's what really matters.
I completely agree. This has been a really good interview. And for those that are joining, because we have some new joiners, just to let you know, this is our special edition interview with Jeff Reed, which is the 10th interview that I've done although I have more waiting. That has now raised $1,000 just by Jeff sitting down with me without asking anything else of him, which is equivalent of 10,000 meals. So this is a huge deal for No Kid Hungry and for kids everywhere. So we really appreciate Jeff's willingness to join us.
Oh, yeah, it was great. I really appreciate anything you need from me. You can speak to somebody in general, a group of people to try to draw them in. I have no problem doing that.
So, Jeff, there's two more questions I have for you before we end for the day. And one of them is, you know, since you're a motivational speaker, which is something I did not know before we sat down, do you have any words of advice for those that are watching this or will be watching it later on YouTube?
I mean, I don't, let's say the question again. Sorry, I was, my car was going to turn off and the audio would have cut off. I didn't want to mess that up.
Oh, that's okay. I said, do you, being the motivational speaker that you are, which I did not know about before the interview, and that's great, do you have any words of advice for those that are watching now live or will be watching later on YouTube, especially in regards to helping out with our project or just being a part of ending hunger?
Well, all I can tell you is, like I said about the secret, if you want something, you got to give to get it. If you want more money, you got to give money to get it. If you want to end homelessness, then you have to give time. You have to give effort. You have to give money. You have to give whatever you think is beneficial. And always know this, that I'm not a pastor and I'm not preaching, but God's in control. Every single thing we do is controlled by Him. And it may at times you may wonder, I mean, I've done it numerous times, then I realize something else great happens. I'm like, oh, that's what I get for doubting. I mean, that just proved me wrong again. So the one thing I did learn is you have to give to get. It doesn't matter what it is in life. And, so that's not overly motivational, but it is saying that, like me, if I'm giving time to this, I'm going to think about it the rest of the day. And if it comes up again or someone emails me or texts me or tweets me or whatever it may be through social media, then I have nothing but good things to say because it's like when I coach. When I'm coaching, I'm learning. I'm not just telling these kids, this is what you have to do. No, I'm going off your strengths. I'm going to teach you off your strengths, and then I'll let you know how your progress is coming along or if I need to do something different. And so basically, if you want things to happen just like in life with professions, you don't fall on top of the mountain. You have to climb till you get there. So if you've never given effort to help with a cause, whether it's homelessness in children or it's hunger or it's curing cancer, whatever it may be, if you don't give time and effort and a little bit of money here and there, then when it happens to you or you're in that situation, everyone will remember that.
The last thing I have to ask you is a question I ask everybody. So it's not to copy the ALS Ice Bucket Challenge so much because that was done differently, but at the end of each interview, I ask everybody to come up with 3 people that they want to call out to say, you need to do this, kind of challenging them to sit down with me and do the interview knowing that it raises money. Can you think of 3 people that you'd want to say, I'm calling you out?
I can think of a lot, but I don't know how I get that message to them besides text them after we get off and say, hey man, let's go out. It's kind of like the Ice Bucket Challenge thing. Yep. I didn't know what that was forever. And then I got called out by my girlfriend, so I kind of had to suck it up and do it. But I think guys that have had an impact on me, an actor friend of mine out in Studio City, his name's Albert Marrero Jr. I went to college with him. He's been through the lowest of lows, and he's on his way up the ladder. And he's an actor, and I called him out because I know that he has a heart. I called out my buddy Jim Slowick. He's in actually Cranberry, PA, which is right next to Pittsburgh. I know what he's done with his company and how they're a multi-million-dollar company, and I know what impact he can have on. I spoke to his group about teamwork and leadership, and there were 15 people in that room, and he was their leader. And so, I called him out a little bit here and there, but I know the impact he can have when he puts his mind to it, because he's actually a really intelligent person. And I guess other than that, I'd have to call out Steelers place kicker Sean Swayze. He's actually my guest on my podcast. My next Mullins appearance, March 6th in Pittsburgh, PA. At the bar at Mullins, I do live podcast. He's my guest. So I'm going to call him out enough doing that because he took my job. But on the flip side of that, you know, I know that I don't know how much charity work he does, because I'm not saying he does or doesn't do it. But if this kicker can still do it 3.5 years out of the NFL, man, I sure hope he's contributing not only a little bit financially, but giving up his time. I know he has a wife and kid, so it could be a little tougher, but that's no excuse. So I guess I'll call those 3 people out.
All right. Well, those 3 people, I'm going to look up on social media, and if you have their contacts as well, send them to me so that we can get the message out to them. If you think of anybody else that would be a good part for this, we can call them out as well. But those 3, we're going to find you, and we're going to get everybody on board to try to get them to agree to an interview.
Yeah, sounds good.
So before we go, for those watching and those who watch it later, the link to the bottom of will be put in the bottom of this video on YouTube for the End Hunger Challenge. There'll be a promo video along with the link. There's also a donation. It goes right to No Kid Hungry, so people can follow along. After the interviews, the money comes in. It goes right to No Kid Hungry, and they can kind of follow and see the donations coming in for each interview. Jeff, I thank you so much for your time. It has been a very inspiring and enlightening, good special edition interview.
Oh, you're welcome. Like I said, anything else I can do to speak to a group or speak over this thing again, if I can ever figure it out, you know, I'm willing to help out any way I can, because I understand that even though I've had some pretty low lows, I'm alive, I'm walking, I'm not hungry, I'm not starved, and I have a house. So, you know, I know I'm way more fortunate than a lot of people. And so if anything I can do, I will do it, and I appreciate you getting in contact with me.
Not a problem. Jeff, I thank you so much for your time, as always, and you and I will stay in contact and see what we can do to spread the message further. And if you have any other thing to say before we go, let me know. Otherwise, we are about ready to wrap up our special edition interview.
I'll put a shameless plug in for myself.
All right.
But I want to get the important stuff out of the way first. I just signed on. That's what I was telling my breaking news of my podcast. My podcast has about 3,000 listeners, which is pretty cool for 7 months, because those listeners are loyal. But I just went on Voice America Radio, which is 3.5 million listeners a month. And they reached out to me, and I'll be a part of the variety channel and sometimes sports, but I'm more variety because I'm all over the place in my podcast. I don't like to focus on sports and all that. You know, anyone can do that, in my opinion. So I'll be on the variety channel starting April 8th. It'll be live on the East Coast, 4 to 5 p.m., 1 to 2 p.m. on the West Coast. And you know, this is a global thing, so it's a step right below Exit Radio, which is my goal. So I guess you got to start somewhere, and I started on my own, out of my own pocket, and hopefully some great things will be happening with Voice America Radio.
Well, I will definitely have to get in on that, so I'll have to get the information from you, and I will put that out there as well for all of the followers that we have, so that they can come listen to you in your show.
Yeah, and you can also, I can take call-ins live, so that can get really interesting.
That could.
All those people that want to talk about the irrelevant stuff, I'll make it relevant for them.
The one thing I did notice was the crazy hair that you had. Is there a story behind some of those pictures that I saw?
The one that was normal color, that was just me, let it grow out. And then, you know, basically what I did is I let it grow out all season. I just, you know, trimmed up my beard or whatever I had, and got my neck shaved. But other than that, I just didn't touch my hair. And it took it, but I started to realize after a while that took way too long to make it feel like a woman. You know, to have it all stand up that long, and you know, I had to put a pretty good amount of hairspray in it because it started getting heavy. And I hate to admit that I actually know that stuff. And in 2008, in our Super Bowl run to Tampa against the Cardinals, I told my teammates if we made the playoffs, I dyed my hair like Rick electrolytes and all that. That's the process too, because I was under that. I was getting that done for about 3 hours, and every once in a while, I'd keep color. And man, that was pretty funny. But that's the whole story behind it. The cool thing is that they started selling at the Super Bowl. They had little visors with my crazy hair. That was a cool thing. I got something out of that, and I guess people will never forget that about me. But hopefully, they remember me for the person I am, because that's most important.
Well, I do. Like I said, I had no idea, you know, with your sports career prior to this, because I'm confess I'm not a huge football fan, but I saw that picture and I just thought, oh wow, there's got to be some type of a story.
Yeah,
With
it's just basically my personality. I have no sport aside. You never know what you're going to get with me, so I might as well carry that over to my hair.
And Ric Flair, I grew up watching him when my grandpa was wrestling, and I have to joke. So if he's watching, I'm really sorry, but I just think he's one more woo away from, you know, that vein. Just, you know.
Yeah, he needs to simmer down. I don't even think he's allowed back in Charlotte, North Carolina, just because I don't know, I think he made the cops mad or something. I'm trying not to tell on him, but I don't even think he comes back to Charlotte, because I think he got too much trouble.
Oh, it doesn't surprise me.
I don't look at him like that, though, because I know a lot of stuff that's not even made the news with him, and, but I know him, so, I mean, I know he's a little crazy out there, but he's a nice guy, you know, you have to give people a chance before you judge them.
Exactly. I think it's that way with a lot of celebrities. It's funny because people will be posting, oh, I love you, or you're the greatest, and it's the persona that they see, whether you're a singer, an actor, a pro athlete, without taking the chance to get to know the person. I'm sure there's a different side of Ric Flair that nobody sees, because it's just not, you know.
Well, you understand that wrestlers are actors. I
Mm-hmm.
Yes, they do. I mean, all that wrestling is obviously not real, but there's some real things that happen. He's real blood, and they really get into chairs, and they really land wrong and have surgery, and their bodies are beat up.
Mm-hmm.
That's why somebody has an overdose on painkillers because they're hurt. But, you know, so there's a lot of real stuff about it. But they are actors. I mean, they all like each other. They're all friends. But they come out there like they're, you know, at the end of the world, they're going to kill each other. So, you know, that's why you can't. I mean, some guys say, I hate John Cena. I'm like, I know John personally. It's a show. And he'll do anything for the troops. He'll do anything for charity.
Yes.
And that's the best thing about John, besides, you know, all the women love with his shirt on.
My son is a huge John Cena fan, so maybe we can get him to join us eventually, you know, with your help. But we'll look at that down. Very true, very true. So, well, thank you, Jeff. I really appreciate you taking the time. I know it's a little longer than we discussed, but you're just really insightful. So I appreciate all of the help that you've done, and we'll stay connected and see what we can do, and just follow along with the progress.
Yeah, you're welcome. I can't believe you went over the time slot of 20 to 40 minutes. I'm a little disappointed in that.
I know, right? I'm sorry.
Total joke.
I know. I can't believe we exceeded it. And I'm saying 20 minutes on the low end, and we're on almost an hour. But you've been great. It's been wonderful. So I will post a link for everybody at the bottom of the video. It's going to go on YouTube, and I will send you the link as well, so you can do whatever you want with it. And I look forward to it.
I'll put it on my website so people can laugh.
So, yeah, at both of us, because I'm not a professional at anything. So.
My website is fairlycontrolledradio.com or the JeffReedsShow.com. And they both link up to the same thing. And by the way, when you're there, you can watch this because it's a great cause. You can also watch my podcast.
I will.
There's about 60-something of them in there. So it's pick one that sounds interesting, and I have some good guests on there as well.
Well, I'm going to have to start watching those, so that'll give me a lot to download, because I don't have a whole lot of podcasts loaded up. So I'll put yours in there.
Sounds good. I appreciate you guys reaching out. We'll be in touch.
All right. Thanks, Jeff. Everybody watching, thank you for joining us. I really appreciate it. Have a great day.
See ya.
See ya.